military veteran, Christian patriot, was not involved in politics until the 90s when I saw computer vote fraud was an issue. Over the years, I've grown to understand a little bit more that vote fraud is not necessarily the issue that needs to be addressed. It's we the people. The Constitution starts out, U.S. Constitution, we the people. And looking at the Constitution, I'm still learning myself about that. But the Second Amendment, the first 13 words of the Second Amendment, I believe, are the most important words of the Constitution. And it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. So I kind of put in reverse by saying no militia equals no free state. Now, gun activists, the NRA, gun lobby groups, they focus on the last 14 words about the right to keep and bear arms. But as individuals, we already have that right to self-defense. If we focus on individual right to keep and bear arms, and we're not organized, then we have tyranny, or it will develop into tyranny, and that's what we have today. The federal government just has way too much power. So my focus is on Texas and the state militia. I'm going to work or introduce a bill that I've named right now the State Militia Restoration Act. Because what happened was in 1903, what I call the traitors in Congress at that time, they suppressed the militias. And they made us unorganized militia, which obviously doesn't make any sense. And they brought in the National Guard, which is actually a federal portion of defense. So we, the people, basically had no more ability to organize in order to prevent tyranny. And I believe that that's because the people in Congress at that time, they had an agenda. 10 years later, we got the IRS and the Federal Reserve. We had World War I, World War II. I mean, the 20th century was the bloodiest century in history. And they knew that if the people understood what was going on and were organized in militias, that they would not be able to do that. Oh, no doubt I'm going to get flack. I mean, I consider right now the 535 members of Congress to be traitors and cowards right now. I mean, even Ron Paul never mentioned the word militia that I, understand or ever heard of. He focused on the Fed. Well, yes, the Fed is a problem. I mean, they're the money powers. But unless you have militia, the Fed's going to be resurrected. I mean, all through our history, American history, we've had central banks, and we've, gone away from them, and they've always come back. Well, with we the people organizing, then we can prevent that. But I think I can organize the people again to put pressure on their congressmen or to get them out in order to get back to self-governance. No. I think ISIS is a manufactured CIA entity. I mean, the evidence is out there. Well, I mean, we've armed them. We practice regime change overseas. We end up, arming people that end up turning around or turning on you. Whether, they knew that from the get-go, CIA knew that from the get-go, who's to say? We have to address it. But again, once we the people, I mean, the militia is supposed to be the standing army. They can get called up and be under the president. But, that's what happened in 1903. Once the militia went away, they created a standing army, and the founders always warned against standing armies. I actually voted for Austin Peterson at the National Convention. I was a Texas delegate. I don't endorse Gary Johnson only because he, as well as Trump, Hillary, any other candidate, Darrell Castle, Constitution Party, none of these candidates are advocating a return of state militias so that we, the people, can practice self-governance again. I mean, people say we have to vote for Trump in order to keep Hillary from being in. No, we have to vote for we, the people, and the only way to do that is to get people in office who are going to work towards returning the state militias. Well, my chances would have been pretty good if I'd have had support from the party. I had a plan in place. I mean, anybody would want to vote for a candidate who says you won't have to pay income taxes anymore. That's across the board. That should be, you know, Democrats, Republicans, whatever your political bent is. Everybody hates the IRS. Well, in May of 2015, I was getting harassing letters from the IRS stating that I owed X amount of taxes. I mean, I pay taxes. Everyone pays taxes. But I'm talking income taxes. They couldn't show me the law. And I've known for over 20 years that I don't owe income taxes. I went to his office, spoke with his regional director. Basically, the bottom line was, you know, just pay the tax. Well, I'm a man of principle, and I'm not going to pay something that I don't owe. And we're just feeding the beast. Every April 15th, we keep giving money to the federal government to continue regime change and everything that's going on with them. So that's when I decided that he was a coward. He was not going to stand up to the IRS, and that I needed to step up and do it myself. Well, I think either one, I'm going to be fighting him. I mean, Dr. Ron Paul was a medical doctor. I'm going to be, and he was referred to as Dr. No, because he voted no on most of the bills that are introduced into Congress are unconstitutional. I'm going to be known as Mr. No, but no, I'll be butting heads with them. But this is a team effort. I want that to be clear. I mean, obviously, I'm not a politician. I'm only doing this to give youth, the youth of our country, millennials, whatever you want to call them, a future. Because if we don't take care of the IRS or the money issues, y'all are going to be enslaved worse than we are now. I think we have the technology to, the constituents would be able to tell me pretty quickly before a bill is introduced how they want to vote. But the key issue is that I'll be asking is it constitutional? And if it's not, it's not. I don't care if the constituents say, yes, we want it. I have to vote no on principle because it's not within the Constitution.